We're gonna talk about this restaurant life. So let's get into it tonight. It's a blessing as well as strife. So grab your fork and get your knife. Cause there's so much more to this restaurant life. Yeah, there's so much more to this restaurant life. So much more to this restaurant life. Let's go!
To even ask me, so let's talk about that. I mean, we're just getting off our feet. You know, this is like 1 month in. So.
Yeah, I've heard toast is really good too. My buddy, he uses that at Juniper's in Lanesboro.
Okay.
And
what do you think of that spot?
oh man, it's great.
I've been trying to get down there too, and like I said, I was kind of like saving it for a while I'm there, and hopefully, you know, children free. But
he's one of my good friends.
do they have patio space? 'Cause
Yeah,
that's right
they
on
got
the strip.
really great patio
is it out
space.
back or in front?
Both now.
Oh shit!
It used to be just out front, and they opened up the back, and like so there's like a segue, so you can sit on the patio and the deck opened up and look over the river now. It's beautiful,
That's gotta
man.
be awesome. Yeah, I've been watching their menu pretty close with like Nosh too, and I know that he's been trying to get me down there for 2 or 3 months, and I'm like, every time I've got like, it's always last minute.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
It always is, right?
oh, there's a 9:30, but it's 8:15 and it's in Winona, so maybe not, you know,
Right.
or slash, you know, don't want to show up late and then have these guys stay in. Anytime like you got to look at the closing, I'm like, okay, let's go an hour before anybody closes at the least. Like I know all these guys.
Yeah,
are
it's
stressed
it's
out
courteous.
and want to get out of there. And I mean, if you don't want to cook for somebody that late, then you're in the wrong industry. I always like felt like that's an issue in every
Yeah.
restaurant. They're like, oh, why do we get employee food 5 minutes before close? And I'm like, well, that's just communication. We should figure that out. And then you always have to remind people, like if you know, everybody has to eat, and
Yeah.
we're in this industry to feed people.
Yeah.
And if
That's
we're feeding all these strangers, but you're mad about the people that we see every day, and that's no.
Yeah.
Change that. You know, no more wars on the front to back.
Oh,
It's
man. That's
so hard to do. It's inevitable, but
That's an ongoing battle too.
it's morning and night, and then back and front.
Right.
I feel like everywhere, and
We've changed to fast casual dining.
okay.
So no more servers. There's cashiers, there's bartender, there's food runners.
Seen that
and,
a lot now.
And it's helped a lot with that tension, rather than us versus them. They're working together a lot more. Everybody, they share tips now.
Yep.
So instead of
That's
just,
what they're
you know,
doing.
the 3 or 4 servers making $250 a night and everybody else getting scraps, everybody gets, if you work the night shift.
Or you're, hey, this is my table, and then it's like, God, I got a 2-top, a 2-top,
Yeah.
a 2-top. and
Yeah. None of that.
everybody, you know.
It doesn't exist anymore, and that's been pretty great as far as taking away those barriers that divide, you know, those issues that can come up that can divide in between the
Yeah.
front of the house and the back of the house. So
And I guess, you know, just going from all the experience that I've had through like the years is that when we started Chip Shots, I'm like, just kind of sat down with my key people out front. I'm like, hey, this is our shot to prove that it can be done.
yeah,
Right?
right.
Whatever you need, you let me know. Whatever I need, if anything, I'll make sure we communicate it. And I was like, we're going to set the trend of this place's future indefinitely.
Yeah, especially when you're starting out. That's like the mission, right? It's
So-
like, hey, we gotta get off on the right foot.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like, especially on to-go orders, they're like, we didn't do anything. You get any tip that, you know, the kitchen gets the tip. And then I guess on top of that, when we're doing parties, like that automatic gratuity is divvied up between the cooks
Yep.
and the front.
Yep.
And they're fine with it because we're making them money by putting out the product,
Yeah,
right? You know,
exactly.
and I think that's kind of an eye opener, and it's making people more grateful. So when they had a good day, they might just stop back and be like, "Hey, here's a bucket of beer or
Right.
whatnot," and then to keep the
Camaraderie.
keeping everybody happy. I feel like
It's impossible to keep everybody happy, but as long as you're focused on, you know, working together and keeping the morale somewhat
oh man, yeah.
upbeat, you know, I can tell that's probably kind of your job.
And I'm the peacekeeper. I was like, after the first week of opening, I was like, well, my job hasn't been to kick out amazing food. my staff's very capable of doing that. My job was to keep the peace and keep the calm.
Yeah, and keep organized.
People come back just, like, it's a new system, it's, new place. Everybody's just trying to get dialed in and used to it, and they're like, "Why is it so calm back here?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "We're good.
Yeah.
What do you need?
We're not used to this.
Let's go.
Yeah. How can we help you?"
And just like positivity, so just counteracting like any stress with a smile, and just like kind of like, "Hey, what do you need? What do you need? We got you. We were down a bartender, or just the bar was just getting took over. The first weekend, our grand opening. One of my guys is a bartender at his other job. I'm like, "Hey, we're looking good back here.
Go sling some drinks.
Go pitch in?" He's like, 100%. I'm like, there should be a cheat sheet for, their cocktail list. It's not at every bar, right?
Sure.
So he's like, very least I can pour a beer and, just do the regular drinks that people are asking for. But he's been doing that for some years, and they're super grateful for that.
There's such a thing to that too, of just being able to lend a hand.
Yeah.
I think people in the industry really understand that more, of like, hey, I've been in that spot before. Mm-hmm. I understand what you're going through right now. Yep. If you're capable of being able to lend a hand and help this person get through that, they'll do it for you.
Yep.
And they'll do it for the next person, because they'll see it as well, and that's how you're talking about building that camaraderie and building that morale.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I think a big thing too is just like never doing something for something in return, that's self-gratitude, knowing that you're able to do that for somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because you have that power to be able to make that decision to help somebody and not expect something back, but you just know that it's better for the whole system that you're a part of.
Yep, for sure.
And that's
a way to live your life. So it's called Buddha Dharmism, actually. It's the act of building good karma. Mm-hmm. So you're not doing it in will to get something out of it, right? And
you're just trying to be a blessing.
Yeah, I had a florist tell me that one day, because she's like, "You're always doing stuff. You're doing stuff for everybody all the time." And she's like, "You know what that's called?" And just kind of filled me in. So I did some research, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, if you can just try to keep that in the back of your mind, I don't try to like focus my life on living it any certain way or a certain direction or path. It's always just like, keep in mind all these little things, and as long as you have a conscience, it kicks in when it needs to, and lets you know, like, hey man, like,
this is where
try this.
This is where I can help. This is where I can be at service. And dude, the kitchen will teach you that fast. Like it's a quick learner. Like you either start doing that or you're not going to make it. Mm-hmm. Right? You have to communicate. You have to help people out. You have to pull your weight, because if you're not, it's gonna show. It's gonna show on your plate. It's gonna show, through your coworkers are gonna be like, "Hey, man."
Oh, you rub off on everybody. I mean, whether you're the hyphy one or the mellow one, it goes both ways. So people always think like, negativity does like phase in and hit people so much harder than positivity, but that's why like just a constant.
Yes.
Making anything constant, whether it's their schedule or whatever is constant in people's lives, is expected. So then, they're not stressed out over it because it's their normal, it's their routine.
Yes. Gotta have it.
Our industry is never routine. I feel like, hey, I need you available on these days. Oh, this holiday. Oh, this person's sick. Can you come in? And then a lot of these guys are and gals are in, 2-3 different places, whether they're serving or slinging burgers or whatever it is. And they're like, let me see if I can leave, and you're I don't want to interrupt somebody else's service or anything like that, but just reaching out and then having, when people are willing, they're happy.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. It's something that I've run into too, of being able to communicate like we're talking about, but also let go and understand that, hey, these people have their own lives. They have other things happening in their lives. They're, if they can help, most of the time they will help, but it's like, not holding on too tight, like you owe me, or these expectations, and you let me down, because again, that's that negative bullshit that creeps in and it infects, and I've learned that's been a learning curve for me of running my own business. Of, hey man, that comes from the top down, that perspective of being positive and getting through it and making it happen, and not blaming and expecting people to care about us as much as I do, and hold them accountable for sure, but not hold them to like my standard.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's that leading by example kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely my thoughts, leading by example. And it's funny because that's just like the number one thing is like easier said than done, right?
Right.
We all have our outside lives, and a lot of times that's just affecting your mental state going into work,
Yeah.
or just anything, and I try to do it for my kids. I try to do it for my coworkers. I try to do it for my leadership team, like everything in life, lead by example. But then you catch yourself slipping, and I might be one of those guys a little bit harder on myself. And you know what, maybe like yesterday wasn't my brightest moment, but let's make up for that today and the next day.
We're our own worst critics, for sure.
Yeah.
But you're hitting on that point, though, is that you have to learn to, you acknowledge it, and then you accept it, and then you correct it, and then you let it go.
Yeah.
Right? And you move on. And
that's the most important part, is letting it go.
Yep.
It's so hard to learn that too. Just over the last 4 years, looking back at my own life, I'm like, man, like each year I can see and like feel and remember like those epiphanies I had of progression where I finally saw the light. I've been listening to people tell me this the entire time. Like one of those things is like, sometimes you just have to let people talk.
Yeah.
And just wait your turn, because half those questions are answered. I was told that in 3rd grade, Miss Martin's mean.
But it rings true.
Yeah, and I knew that was one of those things in the conscience, on the back burner in your brain, like, hey, this is always the polite thing to do, and easier said than done.
I think too, absolutely going off of that, it's something that I do more and more that I realize that I'm doing is that I'm speaking out loud of what I'm thinking in real time to my employees, and I'm saying things that I kind of already know the answer to.
Yep.
But I want to hear it from somebody else.
Yep.
And I think that we all operate that way of like, I'm pretty sure I got this dialed in, or I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to say it in real time as I'm thinking and see if somebody else as a sounding board or bounces that back of like, absolutely, or well, maybe this, and then I can riff off of that. But
yeah, you always have to be open to like other people's suggestions and opinions on things. Now, whether you've already made your mind up or not, which a lot of times you're like, hey, like this is what we're going to do going forward, and you're kind of saying it, and then that's when somebody has the opportunity to chime in and be like,
or I wouldn't have thought about that. I'm glad that we did bring it up, and you know what, your idea is better than mine, and that's a humble thing too, or being able to be humble enough to recognize that and include everybody too, because dude, I've had jobs too where my boss is just a freaking idiot, and he's just on a power trip, and he's just saying shit to say shit because he's in charge.
Yep.
That's the worst, man. That's the worst, showing up for something where it's like, oh my God, this guy again,
Yeah, dreading going to work is never a fun thing. It's what I've tried from the get at this new space is, hey, I don't want anybody to be like, God, I got to work today. If you're feeling that way, I hope it's just because it's a beautiful day outside and you don't want to be trapped in a kitchen.
Yes.
We'll slap hands, take 5.
Or maybe you got something else going on in your life that is taking precedent to this, and you got to deal with that. And we all have shit like that. But then when I tell those people, it's like, hey, you're in the right place though. You know why? Because you can come in here and literally work through your problems.
Yep.
Like, this is the beauty of this kitchen, of like, man, you can put your head down.
Exactly.
And you can literally work through it.
Yep.
And you'll feel like you did something of substance today. And when you leave here, that problem that you're dealing with, you'll have more tools and more ability to go out there and deal with that.
Yeah. I mean, there's been countless times where, whether I'm going through a breakup or whatever in my personal life, and I'm stressed out, pulling my hair out, maybe I don't have daycare, maybe something happened, I'm short on funds, the truck's broke, whatever it is.
It's always moving.
And then I'm stressed out, like, hey, I need time to figure this out. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go to work. And then I go to work, and then I, don't say anything for an hour.
Yeah.
And I get all my stuff straight, and like you said, head down, and you just kind of, and then somebody's going to crack the nut, and they're going to be like, what's going on, man? Like, you're different today. And then you're going to be like, well, since you asked.
Yeah.
And then, the kitchens are therapy for sure.
Oh, 100%, man.
I starting from the first kitchen I was ever in, I didn't even know that from any other place that I've worked.
Yeah.
Because they were so corporatized, for one. And kitchens be corporate too, but I don't feel like that's the culture.
No, it's not.
You define the culture of your kitchen.
Yeah.
But I'd never had that until I was in a kitchen, and then I'm like, well, shit. these people give a fuck about what I have to say or like what my day was like, or
Yeah, you're part of the team.
Yeah. And I'm just so glad that I found that, and that's why I'm still doing it.
It's addicting, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Well, then just being there for people too. Like, I feel like in my personal life, they're like, you're Dr. Phil, you know?
Sure.
I'm solving people's problems, and I've got my own. Maybe that's what I need.
It goes
Maybe
back
I
to what
need
we're
to
saying,
solve
though, man.
people's problems.
Being able to do it,
Mm-hmm.
to be a blessing to other people. Like, just like I can do that for somebody else. Like, that's empowering.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a mitzvah, you know, or whatever. It's just like that. By going through that in the kitchen, it allows you to see that and have that perspective.
Yeah, and just like having people feel comfortable to talk to you about it, then you like realize that they trust you.
You're right.
And trust is important, and it's hard to find, and it doesn't come immediately. Sometimes it feels that way, and
you got to earn it.
It's when you feel burned, you know.
Yeah.
But just like being an open book there, and that's how everybody has been where I'm at right now, and in the past kitchens too. It's just like, oh, we're going through it. What can we do as a team to help? You know,
Yeah,
like
dude.
I know somebody's, you know, rent is late, and just like, well, what are you short? I'm doing all right. Let me help you there.
Yeah, it's a noble
kickbacks.
It's a noble
you know?
profession. That's definitely something that, because I've only been cooking for 11 years now.
Okay.
And I got in when I was 29.
Yep.
And my brother, he does travail and
Inspiring.
and up there, and I helped him out. But it was just, it's such a unique and different subculture that I wasn't aware of. And
It's art.
It is,
Yeah.
man. And the camaraderie and the, like you're saying, like people looking out for each other and helping each other, and benefits, and doing benefits for people if they're in trouble, and just fundraising and taking care of their own. You know, that was something that I was like, wow, this is something I'm really, I didn't know it was here, and I'm really glad I discovered it.
Same. I feel like it's the same feeling that I was just talking about there. I call it the chef network. Mm-hmm. You know, and it doesn't just pertain to back of the house either. Like, this is like, we're all here to scratch each other's backs.
Yeah, it's the industry.
That, especially Rochester, the diversity of restaurants is here, but there's so few of us just because of the size of the city.
Yeah.
That we all have to be in the non-competition state. You can't try to beat out somebody else or step on their toes and do like date night the same night or whatever it might be that's going on, and like try to keep your menus diverse so it's not going to every restaurant getting the same thing. And it does happen.
Sure.
A lot of that is seasonality. Like, it's fall. What are we eating? Everybody's like apples, but just to have that network there where we can communicate with each other. I walked in the door here at the Blue Duck, and Eric's, hey, what's going on? How's
man.
And we're just like, yep.
He's the best.
But that's brotherhood for me.
Yep.
And I've always been able to reach out to people and say, hey, can I borrow some catering equipment? I'm shy and I got way too much going on. And they're like, yeah, stop by, grab it, and I'm like, oh, no problem.
Because it's coming back around.
Yeah, bring them a little treat or something like that, bring something from your shop and feed them.
100%.
But
no, and it's a wasted energy
Yeah.
too if you're competing, if you're trying to get over on the other place. It's like, dude, you're spending more energy wasting time trying to beat somebody out than you guys get better.
Yeah.
And then by you guys
it's a
getting
distraction.
Exactly. And it's like that's that perspective shift like we're talking about. Like, man, this isn't what it's about. It's about us all raising the bar together.
I think we have to teach that more than focusing on like your identity. I think your identity, that's part of it, and that people have like the restaurant face, they've seen the food, you're getting your point across, and then I think like helping the industry grow by, like you said, leading by example, in every way that you can, is always the way that we have to live. So if you think that the industry should, be more helpful towards one another, it's always a good idea to bring it up when you hear a conversation, whether it's out in public, you're having a drink and a couple of restaurant groups are upset, and you have a chance to kind of slide into that conversation because they know you, and then just kind of like promote that. Don't ever tell them that they're doing something wrong, but just talk about kind of how you're doing it.
Yeah.
And then that gives them the idea, and it might not set in right away.
It plants the seed, though.
The more they hear it.
Yeah, it plants the seed.
Yeah.
That's 100% the best way to do it, because, if you just come up to somebody and like, you're fucking up, you're doing this wrong.
They're gonna be like, "Fuck you too."
Exactly. Yeah. That's human nature, right?
And nobody likes to hear it.
No. It's it's definitely that perspective shift, and it's what you're talking about, like of being aware and having those conversations. That's what's inspired this podcast. You know, like I'm
in the right place.
You're in the right place. Right, yeah. These are the conversations I want to have.
Yeah.
You know, these are the kind of connections we want to make, and like I said, this is, I think, our 12th podcast. It's better than anything Luke and I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And the connections and the networking that we've already done, we're just a small little restaurant in Harmony.
Doing big things, though.
And but it's great. But it's like this is an extension of that.
Yep.
And that's been really great for us to reach out, to meet new people, to have interesting conversations, to find out new shit that we didn't know about, and to try and get that word out to change people's perspectives about dining.
Yeah. And none of us are perfect.
No.
I always tell this to people, and it kind of correlates to hiring new people into your place, or somebody who's never worked in a kitchen, but we've got them in at entry level, busting pantry or dishes or whatever it is, or a food runner that's changing to the light side,
Yeah.
And zing.
Yeah.
But I just tell them, because they beat themselves up too, and they make mistakes. I'm like, hey man, I make mistakes every day.
Yeah.
I just don't tell anybody.
Right. Yeah.
Unless you catch me. No.
Yeah. Well, you keep your own counsel. You know? And that's the thing. We're going back of like, we're our worst critic, and just like, but that's a process too. And like I said, you'll see other people going through stuff that you've gone through, and you're able just like to help them, pull them out of that, and be like, hey, listen, I know this is really hard right now. This is a hard spot because this is like the busy shift and the busy station that you're working, and it's going to take a while. But guess what? After a month or so, this is going to be easy. You're going to look back and you're going to be like, oh my God, remember when that used to be so fucking hard for me? And now I can just do that. Yep. And that's the exercise. You're literally exercising to build that muscle. Right?
Yeah, I remember I was working at Prescott's here in town, and Chef Chris Rowe, just my mentor, right? So amazing chef to work for, accolades, and just a great way of teaching. And I think that he's grown even since I've known him, because I started working there in 2013, and I say that I still work there even though I don't.
Yeah,
I'm the substitute chef in town, so it's like I've got the keys to the kingdom, and like people are just hang on to it because I might need you.
That's so cool, man.
But I remember like watching this guy when I was doing salads and desserts, starting off, not green to a kitchen, but green to a new American French cuisine cooking, and I had no idea what went into it. We got 18 burners and 100 saute pans, and they're blowing through them. Everything's scratch, and I just watched this guy.
It's like
just move his hands, and he's so calm. Yeah. And he just turns around. He's got his stations just ding, 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 and I'm like, how the fuck does he do that? I couldn't process it.
Dude.
I know I'm good at my thing that I'm doing right now, but like I want to move up. I don't want to sit and be a professional salad tosser for the rest of my life.
Correct.
I want to do sides. I want to do saute. I want to learn grill. I want to do what the boss is doing, but you have to earn that. I've had the opportunity to fill in the blank for Chris maybe twice in 9 years.
Yeah.
Still had that opportunity, and there's one other person I know that's been able to fill his shoes, and it's not an easy spot, especially when he's a restaurant owner and on the line, like inspiring.
It's like watching a wizard. It's like watching something that is like you're saying, how the fuck?
Mickey Mouse making the brooms dance. You're like, really
100%.
though? Really?
100%. I've had that realization, like at Travail, like watching James and Mike and Bob. Like, I don't know how these guys are doing 15-course tasting menus with the amuse bouche in between, with pescatarians and vegetarians and
dietary restrictions.
Yeah, and it's just like, dude, I don't understand. Like, I'm just making I'm making the salads.
Yep.
I'm just doing my salad station. I'm just gonna, someday maybe, but that's what you aspire to. But you see that and you're like, holy shit, these guys are on a different level. These guys, and like you're saying, you don't just get to have that.
No.
That's something you work for, you earn, you create, and you make. And people look at that in awe. It's like, because it's
we're performers.
Exactly.
A lot of us are hidden, but we still perform for each other.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I've been known to flip the tongs in a circle and try to catch them, you know?
Hell yeah.
But man, I think like that kind of rolls like right into like every person out there, whether they're a chef or not, are just like interested in like pretty plating and things like that. And they watch Chef's Table.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want that. Well, I'm like, well,
that's great.
In time, right? Like, I got a pair of tweezers, but do I need to, I don't know if that's necessary.
Well,
right?
I tell people, it's like, this is a craft.
Yeah. This
is a craft, and you can do this 500, 1,000 times, and after that, it becomes art. Your craft, you'll just pull something out, and you don't even know where it came from, but you've done it 1,000 times, and like, oh my God, how'd you do that? Like, I've done it this many times, and now I just did this, and that's where the art comes from.
Yep.
From the craft, from building your craft, and then all of a sudden somebody looks at that and they're like, how'd you do that? I go, I don't know, I just kind of did it. It just kind of happened.
It's like, really, you didn't write it down? No, no, I didn't. Damn it, should have. Yeah, that's like where you almost want a camera on your station sometimes. You're like,
oh shit, right?
Oh, that looked like salt. Like, what did I do that made that so good? Because I made it again and it's terrible.
I definitely forget more things than I remember.
Yeah, and I think that's good because then you kind of get distracted. You're like, oh, this always goes with this. You have those pairings. You're like, garlic and rosemary, yes, together every time. You're like, no, maybe not.
Take yourself out of the box.
Let's make somebody else a star. But I wanted to delve into like that realm. When COVID struck, I had that 3-month stretch off. I was working at Cameo Restaurant, and they had shut down initially. Yeah, and shout out to Zach for sure. I was there when it opened. I was there when it closed. Great spot, but
they got
I tried to get into molecular gastronomy, and Harvard EDX was offering all these online courses for free. Well, I paid $100 because I wanted a certificate, and I had realized, going through this course, like, man, this is sweet. There's super talented chefs on there teaching. The overview is great, and I started to get into it. And at that time, I had started to bake as well. So I was like really understanding that science behind baking better because they were explaining it, and I was just crushing all the labs, everything leading up into the testing area. And I wouldn't say I'm not a strong test taker, but I did realize that what goes into that is so much math. And I skipped out on chemistry.
Right.
I skipped out on calculus. I skipped out on advanced algebra. Math is not my thing. So important.
Right.
In cooking, baking, especially
baking,
especially gastronomy.
Yeah.
And I had people come through that were currently in college or just did a great job while they were in college, and they were like kind of helping me, and I just kind of let go that I wasn't going to get the certificate this time, and I had so much more to learn. So I took a step back, and then I just let people kind of like intervene in my thought process and try to change it and kind of dilute all this crazy shit that's going on in my head so I can focus on one thing. And now I'm just picking the pieces that I want out of that class because it's still available for me to like kind of dig through.
Okay.
And then focusing on that, like, okay, gelation, like one of the coolest things, and that's what I want to do. So what do you need? Right? Let's get the supplies to do that.
Master that.
Yeah, and there's like all this great information online, of course, everywhere. But I found a teacher, I can't even think of his name now because it's been a year or so since I've kind of like looked at that. That really broke down the math that I didn't know. And I'm just like, at my house as a student, I should have bought a desk. I'm in the kitchen, making dinner and tried to do this online course. And I just realized that as much as I wanted to be, I wasn't ready for that portion. That's where you say you earn it,
Yeah.
And you have to, like you said, humble yourself. Know that you're not ready for that, and then slowly take the steps to get to the point that you want to be. And so hard to balance.
It's
life
so hard to just to accept that.
Yeah.
Accept this is where I'm at.
For sure.
I want to get here. I need to take these steps to get there. I need more building blocks. I need more time to polish my skill set just to build it, and we all want everything right away, right? And you can see, especially when you can see it, like, dude, I want that on my plate. I want that in my restaurant. I want that system. I want, what those guys have that's going to make it better. It's like, well, okay, like you're saying, what do I need? Break it down. Yeah. What do I need to get this portion? What do I need to get this portion? And you're right, man. It's humbling. It's so humbling, but that's the process. Yeah. Of accepting that, and like, okay, I gotta put the work in. I gotta put the time in. I think COVID was great for that, as far as like, okay, what's important.
It was for like a month.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I felt myself getting lazier and like less inspired, and like, I've got all this time, but my laundry is this high. What the hell am I doing with my time? Like, taking a lot of naps, taking a lot of hikes in the woods, which was great, but it's like, oh, I never have this. I've been working 2 or 3 jobs for 7 years, and I had this break, and I didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah, you had to relearn or learn how to
keep myself motivated. Getting up in the morning, even getting up. I think that's the most important part of the day, is getting up early. Although, like, treat yourself to a day a week where you can sleep in, but sleep until like 9.
Sure.
If you're up till 4 having a good time with the boys, 11. But pay for that, and then you remember not to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it'll cost you. It'll cost you, especially the older you get. How old are you?
I'm gonna be 33 this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and those days are.
Yeah,
coming.
They're gone.
Yeah.
But I guess like the age point, you said you got into cooking when you were 29. Mm-hmm. So I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've kind of been through a lot of kitchens.
You've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot. You watch the Bix guy come in and like, are you here now? Yeah. Because it's great with the reps. I feel like I can get into their head because, I was helping out at Cameo the last few days there. And I'm occasionally at Prescott's helping out there. And then I'm occasionally popping into Pittsburgh Blue to borrow some mushrooms or whatever it is.
Rochester's utility man.
And I'm just like, ding, 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 and they're like, where the hell are you? I'm like, I'm everywhere. I'm where I'm needed.
Well, I remember meeting you and like, yeah, it's Reide, and then someone said Spiccoli, and I'm like,
Chef Spiccoli.
Yeah, and I saw that. I'm like, wait, is that the same guy?
Same guy. Yeah.
I was like, all right.
I didn't choose the name, but it chose me.
Yeah, right. I can see it now. Yeah, man, it's been a wild ride since COVID happened. We've been every podcast we kind of just talk about, like, what did you guys do? How did you navigate through? What systems did you build? What systems did you get rid of? A lot of things. A returning kind of theme through it is that things that weren't servicing you were going to be gone anyway. Mm-hmm. We're just cut the fat right off. Yep. Like, hey, it was down to brass tacks. It was make it happen. These systems and new things that we're implementing that we had to just to survive. Yep. Turns out a lot of those were better than our old systems that we were just doing. So
you walk by a problem 100 times, and that's where like fresh blood, is amazing, because you hire somebody new and they like walk past the sugar bag that gets torn every time you push a cart past it, and they're like, hey, what if we put that in a Lexon? You're like, I've just been walking by it because that's the way it was when I got here. That's the way, like, it just never got revisited.
You're speaking to my heart. Really.
Yeah, and I'm like, thank God, because apparently I'm an idiot because I'd never thought of that. Well, it's not that I didn't think of it. It was just like not priority.
Yeah, it's not on your perspective.
Yeah, I think that given that break that we all had, or lull, even, I think lull is a better way to say it, because we never stopped or never went away.
It was just a like purgatory.
Yeah, it was a transformation for a lot of people, and I think that part of that was finding like myself, and I don't know if I've even found myself as a chef yet. I've been in an executive chef position many times. I don't think that reflects on what I want to do, and I don't know what I want to do yet.
Sure.
So I feel like COVID jumpstarted that for me.
Yeah. The process of...
Yeah, like I said, I'm like, I want to do gastronomy. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, just because I made pearls one time, or whatever it was, and I was this is so rad. Visually, aesthetically appealing, I think. The food I cook now is obviously always from the heart, but it's like very hearty food. You don't see me get into like a lot of greens unless I'm picking them in the woods.
Sure.
And that's just like the nature of what is spicy, creamy. I'm like, let's go. You know, I don't even know what's after that. You know, a PBR.
I've run into that too, man, because I was trained at Travail, and that's French dining and stuff. You know, so I had to kind of learn how to run a kitchen that tailors to a small farming community. You know, and take those techniques and stuff that I've learned and transfer that into what do these people want to eat? You know, what's my demographic here? And that was definitely a learning curve. But by doing that, man, like I've walked in. I can walk into kitchens now and just go. Like I always
ding, 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 ding. You're just like checking off all the boxes, and you're like, where's the Sandy? You know, like, where's the cutting board? You know, a couple questions.
It's broadened my whole perspective of what's available, what I'm capable of, and what works in different places. You know, and that's again, like you're talking about, you know, going from kitchen to kitchen and learning from different chefs and different techniques and different experiences. Like you have all that in your arsenal now, you know? So when you do find that thing that like really turns you on, where you're like, holy shit, that's what I want to do, or an opportunity will come along where it'll just ring your bell, you know, you'll have all that stuff to draw from.
I feel like I've got a good idea, but I have to prove that point to myself by doing it, you know? The place I'm in right now is just like the craziest setup in comparison to, like you said, like being in a French kitchen. I've got Impinger ovens, a panini press, and like that's it, man. You know, so like what can you do? Well, I sure shit did trout papillote for myself the other day because I had a freshie. And it worked. Now, do I think I could kick out 100 of those in a night? Probably not realistic, but I'm like, okay, what's the capabilities? Like, where can we push
that gives you that idea? Well, maybe not with the fish, but maybe I could do it with meatball subs on this or that or whatever.
Well, like now I'm thinking like you can adjust. They're essentially like large air fryer. It's like a roller oven, and it's crazy. But I'm like, well, I can do that, and I know how to like set this wind to like have this effect on the outside of whatever I might be cooking. And I'm like rolling into this summer menu in my head, and I think that's where you'll see a lot of like the food reflect, is that we're going to get into that fresh aspect that I've kind of been ignoring a little bit. Especially since being out of Prescott's and I was farm to table. I mean, we're like, who's washing beets today? You know, and I'd like to have that be my problem.
Oh my God.
If washing beets is my biggest problem, like, awesome. But I want to get into that fresh aspect. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna do a Buddha bowl. Cook off grains. I've got all this pickled ingredients already. We'll bring in local microgreens. I've got 2 people that are asking what I want. I've got my list, and I can just I decide that. And then I'm like thinking, well, I could easily sear tuna in this real quick, and it'll come out like medium every time. So how can I make this place that started so differently kind of my baby, right? You know, taking that inspiration from other people and proving a point that it can be done.
That's the thing too, like, you know, people have great ideas, people make good dishes, but you're touching on that. It's a great point of like, can you do that for 100 people a night? You know, and people don't talk about that a lot and or understand that of like, listen, it'd be great if we could have this dish on, but the logistics of it, of what our kitchen is, how our kitchen's set up, you know, my crew, the experience, where we're getting our ingredients from, if we can support it, and the time to prep it may not allow that to be on the menu.
Or space in your cooler.
There's a lot of different variables that go along with like, hey, there's restaurants that do certain things for a reason. You know, like this is what we have. This is what we're capable of. Also, you know, dollars. Hey, are we gonna make money doing this? You know, like that is.
I can't afford to have 12 people on a line, nor can I fit them. You know,
exactly. You know, that's a great thing to share with people on this podcast of like, listen, I would love to do that. It would be great for this time of year, and you know, I think people would really enjoy it. But here's the 6 things that gotta line up in order to make that happen.
It's not impossible, but it makes it hard to do everything else great. You know?
It's not
sustainable. Can you do one great thing, or can you get everything to almost be there? I think leaving room for improvement on every dish or just everything in life is important, because if you feel like you reached your plateau, then where else is there to go? And then where do you go? You go down, right? You get over the hill.
You're never done. It's never over. You never made it. You know, I tell people that all the time. Like, dude, it's not like there's no finish line You know, it's you just keep improving. You keep making what you have better. You keep, like I said, taking out what doesn't work and implementing new things. Like that's how this works.
Yeah.
You know, it's always moving. It's fluid.
Well, I think just like not putting all that on yourself is great. And I don't necessarily have to delegate things to people so much as ask them to participate.
Yeah.
Because when I started this restaurant, we were just saying, what are we going to be making? And I'm like, well, I've got a prep list written. These are the items that we have to make. And I had only 2 hires at this point in time. So this is like coming down to the wire. Soft opening. I have 2 more days to find at least 2 more people.
We need bodies.
I've pretty much been running a 2-man show. That's it.
Yeah.
In this kitchen. And just
make it happen.
Crush. And there's days where like, hey, maybe on the weekend we have 3 people, because you all of a sudden look around and the kitchen has exploded and there's fucking cheese everywhere. Like, what the hell happened, you know? And then you got to clean that shit up. God, where did we start with that? I kind of got sidetracked quick.
I'm just having
talking about
enough people to do the different things that you want to implement.
Oh, no, just having, I was like, look at this prep list. And they're like, okay, now where's the recipes? And I'm like, what do you feel comfortable making? They're like, you want me to make that?
Oh, I know.
And I was like, please. You know, and somebody picked ranch because I fucking
could you?
And then somebody did, and it was like the first one I like didn't absolutely hate. You know, so I was like, bravo.
Yeah.
But I think having people have ownership, or like have like their suggestion be on the menu, whether it's a special or just like having that ownership. So like somebody's like, yeah, our chef's great. Would you like to meet him? I'm like, correction, my team's great because I didn't do it all.
Yep.
And this guy made that, and this guy made that. And I can tell you who made it because we're that close. Yep. And I'm very thankful that I didn't have to have all that on my plate. Absolutely. So just like having people and like setting that tone from the start, like made people like, I'm gonna clean that corner that never gets touched today. And I didn't have to ask them because they are prideful where they're working and they can talk about it when they leave.
That's how you know the process is working.
Yeah.
That's how you know you're on the right track. You're moving forward in the right direction.
Yep.
When you see somebody go above and beyond and do something that you didn't ask them to do that needs to be done, and they just saw a need and they filled it, I beam with joy. They're like, okay, that means that we're all moving in the right direction, right?
Yeah, and if somebody's kind of dragging, you know, we got to give them an opportunity to kick themselves back into shape before you get on them, you know?
Yep.
Like that kind of is that bringing that outside work in sometimes. It's not always ideal. But just knowing that, you know, everybody, like currently that's how it's working. I can't speak on next week. I don't know if I'm going to lose somebody. I don't know if somebody's going to be out sick for 2 weeks or whatever it is, you know? I just had a local chef reach out to me and be like, hey, do you know anybody that could be an executive sous chef or at least help 3 days a week? One of my guys got in an accident and he's going to be gone for a while. And I'm like, hey, man, that's the guy I trained in for my position when I left. And I won't even say where it is. But I immediately called somebody and was like, hey, man, like this might be for you. I know that you're looking. If not, give it a chance and just fill in the blank until you figure out what you want to do.
Yep.
But that's that chef network again.
Absolutely.
Do you have somebody like anything? Please, you know. No, every chef's biggest nightmare is to not be open.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Whether it's one night and then like you had to call reservations off or just anything, just like not be there. You're letting your community down, or it's what you feel like. I don't think that's how people view it.
No, but it's again, our own worst critics, and you are providing a service, you know, and like, dude, that's like the backbone of the reason of what we do. It's like, this is service. This is a life of service. I'm here to provide this for our customers, for my community, for, you know, people. We're in a, you know, more of a tourist area, so that's the thing. That people are coming down every year to eat at Estelle's. If we're not open, that's a bummer, man.
So yeah, I've been there twice, and I've driven there as a destination.
Great.
You know, with the brunch, I'm like, we've got chicken and country gravy. I'm gonna be back. You know, like that was, I mean, it'd stand out. I mean, the food has just been 3 years, I think. Right on. Since, I hate to say it to your face, but it's been like 3 years.
It's all good. It's all good.
And I can remember the whole buffet. You know,
we just
I'm
did,
like,
that's the
French
last
toast
time
bread pudding. You know,
that's the last time we did a buffet until just this last Mother's Day.
So is it coming back?
Well, we're gonna no. It's not coming back.
One time.
But we're gonna do Mother's Day brunch going forward.
Got it.
My wife won't let us be open on Sundays.
That's important. Sunday's my day off. I got fam and they're priority.
She's the same thing, man.
Yep.
We gotta be a family. We gotta have our quality time. She's like, I'm not gonna be a single mother all weekend. You know.
So hard to have a relationship and be in the industry.
That's a whole nother thing, right?
Yeah, I'm glad that you said it that way.
It is.
They don't want to feel like a babysitter, whether it's their kids or not.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, because if you work at a restaurant, if you're that into
Nights.
it, it's like having a kid.
Yeah,
you know, like you have to tend to it. You have to make sure it's good. You have to keep on top of it. You have to check in. You have to, there's a lot to it, and it's like I have two. The restaurant's name is Estelle's, and our oldest daughter, her name is Estelle. So I have two Estelles.
Yeah.
And they were born. Stella, the restaurant opened July 3rd, and my daughter Estelle was born July 10th. So as the restaurant grows and is able to crawl and walk, or my daughter's able to crawl and walk, the restaurant, it kind of correlates with each other. You know what I mean? So, but that is that's the thing. It's like, hey, and God bless my wife. She gets it. She supports me. She's, she understands what the life is.
Well, you didn't make the decision to open a restaurant on your own.
Exactly.
You had needed approval, I bet.
100%.
Right?
Like this is like it wouldn't be anything even close to what it is without her and her support. And we run the restaurant together. We're business partners, and we're actually opening up our sister restaurant in August, Gabby Lou's, down the street. Yeah, we're
sister. I love it. Yeah. Yep, that's perfect.
So we're excited for that, and she's going to run that.
Okay.
She's been a special ed teacher for 4 years now, and it's just not her passion, and she's getting out, and she sees kind of what we're doing with Estelle's, and she wants to head up her own shop. You know? So
I think that's important too. Is so many people realize that they've been doing something for so long, and they're just not in it.
Right.
So why is their performance not there?
Yeah.
Because they're not in it. They're not. If I've ever stopped being passionate about being in a restaurant, I'll take a break.
100%.
It's happened.
Yeah.
I got burnt out. I did that I was gone for 3 months, and I just had to part-time it and be there at least 3 days a week because I did miss it, but I couldn't balance it. So I mean, I sided houses for 2 or 3 years.
Right on.
And got out because I was like, it was just not the right place.
Or time. Yep.
And I even talked to Thomas Bulmer when they opened In Bloom, right?
Yeah.
And
he's a magic man. Dude.
I mean, I ordered half the menu, and I had to go and say hi to the chef, and we were talking about that, and I think I was just kind of getting over a horrible knee injury and was out of the game. And then when I went to get back in the game, my place wasn't there because I was a chef, the executive chef at Forager Brewery, and you can't be missing an executive chef for 6 months.
Yeah.
So just wasn't what it was for me when I left. So then I had to make that decision and kind of went into that siding thing. And Thomas had told me this. He's like, you know what? I quit altogether too, and I was a cabinet maker for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and you have this, man. Maybe this is the ticket. Maybe this is what I need to be doing right now. And I think it was.
You can't force it.
And I had to miss it enough to want to get back into it. And now it'll never leave unless I, lose my legs or something.
I tell people that all the time. In our space and being the leader, being in charge of it. But I portray that in the nicest, most caring way that I can. If you don't want to be here, I don't want you here.
Yep.
I get it. And like I said, there's other things going on.
Not being a dick.
I'm not. I understand. But for this space and this energy and people coming into what we're doing here, if one person is in here peeing in the pool that has a problem with everything that we're doing, that just doesn't like this or doesn't like that, and it's just evident you don't want to be here, that's cool. I don't want you here. That's okay. Take a time out. Go work at a different restaurant. Go maybe step out of the industry for a little bit and try something else and maybe come back if it's the right time. But it's so important in a restaurant that these people are coming in and they feel that we're here to serve you.
Yeah.
And if there's one person that's not vibing on that,
it reflects, man.
It reflects in the service. It reflects in the food. It reflects in just the ambiance of the restaurant. It's like, man,
turns into bad reviews real quick.
100%.
Everybody's worst nightmare.
No. And that's my job as the owner, as the leader, of having those hard conversations, of understanding that, of letting it go, of like, hey, listen, I understand. I get it. You have other shit going on that takes precedent. Take a step away. Step out. It's okay. But
yeah, and I think that kind of correlates into like mental health a lot too. I just had the pleasure of doing a Project Black and Blue event with Kate up at
Luke was telling me about
Farmer
that.
and the Fishmonger.
Yeah.
And I was choking myself up talking about finding acceptance in a workplace such as a kitchen and just the importance of like what she's doing with that is just insane. I mean, like for me, I didn't know that it meant that much to me until I like sat down, and I know it's been around for going on 2 years now, I think. And I thought it was a cool concept, and then like until I got to participate in that, and it was just like, man, like we all had each other's backs so tough. And I'm just like, I didn't write a script, I didn't write anything, I just spoke from the heart, and it's just like, man, like making sure that your brothers and sisters are like good is way fucking more important than.
It's crazy when that happens too. Like I'll find myself in situations like that. We did the child benefit for Brighter Tomorrow's childhood cancer awareness last night, and you're helping out, and you have this, but then I'll start talking, and something will happen, and then I'll feel it, and then after it all happens, I go, well, I was supposed to be here, and I was supposed to say that. That's that thing where it's like, oh my God, this is where I was supposed to be, and this is who I was supposed to talk to, and they needed to hear this because I needed to say this for myself, and that's that kismet thing that just happens that a lot in this industry. If you're like on the right path and with the right people and doing the right things, that's the kind of fruit from your labor that'll happen, where it'll just shine through. Yeah,
I wasn't even really aware like what I even really said until I had a drive home to think about it, but I knew when like I had kind of walked away from the table and like let them kind of dig into this dessert course that I saw JD Fratsky sitting there, and he was just like my brother, and he just like gave me the biggest hug.
Dude,
I just like looked in his eyes, and I'm just like, man, that hit him too. Like it hit us all. And I think I just kind of, went on a rambling rant. I don't even know, like time didn't exist there for a second. And I think that's that magic, right? That you're supposed to do it, and that's why you're here. And
it's the same vein of too, like dude, you don't just get to have that. No, you
shared it too.
Yeah, that's a blessing, and it just happens. And after situations like that would happen at Estelle's. They'll happen at Travail when I was there. That was the first thing that kind of turned me on of like what this industry is capable of doing. Where I would like look around at Travail, and it was like you would see the customers going like, what is happening here? Oh my God. It was like the perfect food, the perfect music, the perfect wine, the perfect song that came on, and was just like we're like levitating. And the opportunity for that it doesn't happen all the time.
No,
it doesn't happen all the time, but the opportunity for that to happen, if you're doing the right things, it's there.
Yeah, capitalizing is one thing.
Right?
We're busy bodies, man. All of us. I think there's not a person that exists right now that doesn't have their brain going in a million places, not even just in our industry. It's so hard to like keep that in mind, especially like driving. I get road rage. I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, oh, they're just like daydreaming. Like maybe their day is phenomenal, and I'm just in a hurry and being an asshole. That was one of those days yesterday. I'm just like, every car. Like I need to hit gravel. Like I gotta get out of here, And
get out of town.
I got a weak spot, but I had to get into the woods with the kids and be by some water and some trees, and then the drive back.
Reconnect.
Completely different.
Reconnect.
Yeah.
You got to do that, man.
Yeah, I had a good like half hour with kids snoozing in the back and just like windows down. What a beautiful day it was yesterday and today. Hopefully tomorrow, hopefully the rest of the week.
Oh, it's been so great, man, these last couple of days. Just
could use a little bit more rain.
Get some mushrooms.
Really like to see that happen.
Get some morels. I know. It's funny. Like I hit up my Amish buddies because they get all the spots around in Harmony, man.
Yep.
They're gonna hook me up with a nice not bushel, but a nice load.
Yeah, I've been just slacking. I have like so much that I've been wanting to do, and like I've been weighing life too. That is like what is important right now, and like it keeps coming back to family again and again and again and again. It's like I had being in the industry for as long as I have, and working literally 2 or 3 jobs around the clock, essentially. Like I missed out on so much of my kids growing up. It just like breaks my heart to like think like there was at least a 2 or 3 year gap where like I barely saw my kids, and I don't think anybody on the other side even realized that, because it wasn't my place to share that. I'm just here because I need the money. This is what I'm good at. This is why I'm doing it. And I just missed it. So like now, like these, like even if it's like an hour before bed, I gotta just like remind myself, like, this is what you miss. Don't miss it again, because they grow so freaking fast. And now my son's like coming in the kitchen. He's like, "Do I smell?" And I'm like, "Yes, you do. Like good nose, but will you eat it?" Nah. And I'm like, not there yet. I'm trying real hard. I am. And my daughter wants to be a pastry chef, and like so they, kind of.
That's awesome.
Get the gist, and I'm like, just wait. I'm like, when you're 14, we'll get you doing some dishes, and we'll see if you want to do it, because especially pastry. Oh, I know. God damn the dishes, the pandemonium is what I would call it when I was baking at Press Cats. Bread pans, sheet pans, and just million pans and pots, and
it's wild.
Yeah, and then you got to go and like package it and deliver it, and
right.
And then come back to that, and you're like, oh my god. But no, I think that. Kids' minds change so often, but just like everything that they're thinking, encourage it. Like my son also wants to be an engineer. I'm like, please do that one. But if you want to do something else, right on. Well,
I think that's important too. Of just not this is what Dad did, so this is what you do. I've got a lot of friends that and they're not happy. They're whatever Dad's doing, this is his business, and this is what, like, I'm not doing that with my kids either. Absolutely not. They want to be in here. This is their passion. They want to find their niche in this, and this is their path they want to take. I'll 100% encourage it, but like
I'm not Dad at work. Remember that,
right? But it's like, hey, this is not for everybody. I tell that to everybody. I'm like, hey man, this is a hard road. This is a passion thing, and you gotta really be in it if you're gonna do it. If
you want mediocre pay, maybe a couple of shitty apartments, no sleep, and you gotta work at 2 different places. You want that?
Yeah.
All right. Jump on the wagon, But no, that's not always the case. But it is for a lot of us.
It is for a lot of people, and also it's part of working through and building your reputation, your place in the restaurant, in the the right? And it's like, dude,
it ain't free.
It ain't free. It costs. it'll cost you. But I'm man, it's just been so great talking to you and sharing these perspectives and getting to know you a little bit. I've heard a lot about you, and it's been
I think even without this, we'll have to end up hanging out
for sure,
and just like doing this. It's healthy. I've so wanted to push. Find a spot, maybe this back room, maybe another restaurant in town where if you're available this night, show up. We'll all have a drink or some food or whatever it is, and just like have that decompression and just like know that you're not there to bash where you work, because that's important too. It's so hard. Like if you're not happy, don't slam your restaurant, because then you're like giving that impression to your friends. You're like, yeah, my buddy works there and says it sucks.
I know, right?
Like it's tough to do that, and like that's where like your wife may like get more of that, or like my girlfriend may get more of that, and then they're like, God, you even like. Yes, I love it. I know it sounds terrible, but I can't tell anybody else, right? But we have to be able to have that network and to be able to help each other, like decompress and just like know, like, hey, that guy's been through it, that lady's been through it, that guy's been through it, and just know that
we're all the same.
We're all just here, and now is the time that we don't have to worry about work, because we're not there. You might have to answer a text message and 2 phone calls, like, because we're out of this. No, we're not. It's bottom left, behind that.
No, Luke and I have talked about that. I was just setting up a podcast of like 3 or 4 cooks of hanging out, maybe making a dish together, but just mostly just what we're doing right now.
That'd be fun too.
Mostly what we're doing right now is just sitting around having some drinks and bullshitting and talking about our week or our day or what's new, what's going on, and that's again the inspiration for this podcast is to have these conversations.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be such an event. You know, to go and see these people.
Yep.
It's more or less like open, and I wouldn't be surprised, if you end up with just a big round table and just a bunch of people hanging out during these things, and maybe you're leading, so you're just like asking point of views, and like of course people like want to chime in here and there, but like try to keep it super respectful. And I think that
it's turned into a really cool outlet. Yeah. What thing that we've noticed is that by doing this, like, people want to talk about this shit. People want to listen. Like, people are like, when's the next podcast coming out? When's this happening? It's like, it's turning into something that, again, going on the same lines I was talking about, these are things that we want to say. It turns out it's things that people need to hear or want to hear or they're interested in. And it's cultivating like a kind of a cool thing that I'm really, really excited to be a part of.
Well, and just like, the people that aren't in the industry are getting that light shed. This is like Anthony Bourdain's book.
God bless him.
Yeah, rest in peace, man. But just like that was showing the behind the scenes in the kitchen. Like now we're talking about it, but that was one kitchen. This is like the expansion on this project that you're doing right now.
Yeah, man.
I think is just like strides and so eye-opening, because you're finding people too at like all different levels.
Yeah.
In the industry too, and just like.
And I'm learning too. That was like one of the main reasons. Like, dude, I've only been doing this for 11 years. I got so much to learn. I want to have these conversations. I'm trying to get better too.
Yep.
And by doing that, these different networks and different connections are being made. We're growing something here, and like I said, it's been really great being a part of it and meeting new people. So.
Yeah, I think it was a little overdue here.
Yeah.
Right? It's always in passing. We always see each other in passing, and it's like, well, hi, bye. Right?
Well, this is trying to make that connection, man, and I think we're doing a good job. And again, thanks for coming on and being a part of it, and I look forward to hanging out more.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
All right, thanks for
to this restaurant life. So much more to this restaurant life. So much more to this restaurant life. Let's go.